and welcome to a video tutorial presented by MyEquityCafe.com. What is a wraparound mortgage? We're going to today talk about why would you use one, and we're also going to talk about how does it work. Okay, the first thing we want to talk about with a wraparound mortgage is that it's a type of owner financing. And owner financing is when an owner finances part or the wholesale of their property. I like to describe it to people as if they're becoming the bank. So they're selling a property and they become the bank for the buyer. Okay, why would you use one? Well, if you're a seller, one way that you may use why would you use a wraparound mortgage is in a distressed situation. Okay, let's say that the seller cannot make the payments and wants to sell the property but can't sell it through a realtor or just through the normal means. They could sell it on a wraparound mortgage. Also, a seller may do a wraparound mortgage because the buyer brings a large down payment. Maybe the buyer can't get financing, but they're willing to put a large amount down. Okay, and what the wraparound, or in some states it's called an all-inclusive deed trust, we're going to call it a wraparound mortgage for this purpose in this video. Okay, what the wraparound does is it protects the seller in case the buyer defaults. Okay, and why would you use one if you're a buyer? Well, you don't have to qualify for a loan. So at some time when you go out and buy, as an investor, you go out and buy properties, and if you're using your name and your credit, sometimes banks will finally say, no more, we're not giving you any more money, so you end up not being able to buy any more properties. So some investors will use owner financing subject to wraparound mortgages, that sort of thing. Okay? One of the big things is $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in loan fees every time you get a loan. So if you can get the seller to use their existing financing, you're not going to have to make those or pay those loan fees. And the reason as a buyer that you would do a wraparound mortgage is to protect the seller. So you're telling the seller, hey, I am going to do what I say I'm going to do, and I'm going to give you an instrument of recourse if I don't do what I say I'm going to do. Okay, so let's take a look at a situation. Let's talk about Harold the homeowner. Okay, on the public record, so this is what it looks like. Harold owns this beautiful house, and there's Harold. And on the public record, and you probably have this yourself if you own a house, you've got a deed, which could be a guarantee deed, a warranty deed, a quitclaim deed, but for this we're just going to call it a deed, basically ownership. Harold owns this house. Okay, and on this particular house he has a lien, and in some states they're called deeded trusts, and in others they're called mortgages. Okay, but the lien is basically on public record saying that Harold has a promise to a bank to make payments to them, and if he doesn't, that they can use this lien instrument in order to get the deed back or get ownership of the house back if he defaults on his promissory note. And it's nice to know too that the promissory note is something that's separate. It's it's off the record. It's not on public record. But the promissory note is going to say, what are the terms? Is it going to adjust? What's the interest rate? What's the payment amount? That sort of thing. So this is Harold's situation. Harold can't sell his house retail or the normal way you do it through a realtor. And so Harold goes out and finds somebody that wants to buy it using a wraparound mortgage. So Harold says, hey, raises his hand and says, hey world, is there anybody out there that wants to buy my house? You can use the existing financing that's in place. We'll do a wraparound mortgage. So Betty Buyer comes along, and she's got some money to make the payments and closing costs and whatever else. So Betty comes along to buy Harold's home using a wraparound mortgage. Okay, so we want to show, first of all, they are going to sign a contract. They can use a standard contract, or you can use your own contract. And the contract's basically going to say that Betty's going to buy the property subject to the existing financing that's there with protection with a wraparound mortgage. And so that's what their contract would state. Some people like to make contracts a lot more difficult than they are. I mean, it's just basically trying to say what is actually going to happen within your contract. Okay, or in the sale, I should say. Okay, so so what happens at the closing? Okay, ownership changes, and this is very important. Ownership changes with a wraparound mortgage. So that means that Harold homeowner deeds his house to Betty buyer. Okay, so now Betty has ownership of the property. Okay, so now we see what's on the public record. This would be all the stuff that's on the public record. I will outline this for you. Hopefully that shows up well for you. Okay, on public record it shows that lien instrument, ABC Bank. This does not go anywhere. It has to stay there because it was not paid off at the closing. Okay, it still has the promissory note. Harold still has to pay what he said he would pay. Okay, and now the new instrument that we see here, I'll put a little star over here because you can see what I'm looking at. This is the new instrument, and this is a lien now that Harold homeowner, he's no longer a homeowner, but it's Harold, has on file in public records. And along with that, he has a promissory note. And what's important to know about his promissory note is that the terms of this promissory note is that Betty buyer will do what's in the first note. Okay? So if Betty were to not go through with what she says she's going to do with the terms and the ABC Bank loan and defaults, what she's really doing is she is defaulting on the promissory note from Harold. And so now Harold has the right to go back and foreclose on the property and get his house back if he needed to. And so this instrument here is the actual wrap, and the promissory note would be the wraparound mortgage. So I hope you enjoyed today's video lesson.